internships, whether it's academic internships or curricular internships, service learning, research, anything that requires you to the application of theory into practice or work integrated learning is experiential learning. And so there's multiple people here on this call with a variety of different majors. There are students that are going to be enrolled in mandatory co-op courses, mandatory co-op majors, non-mandatory co-op majors, the College of Engineering, the School of IT, the College of Arts and Sciences. So it depending on your major, your college, and your school is whether you're going to participate in one of these forms of experiential learning. But all students at the University of Cincinnati will have some form of experiential learning. And so our office, the Division of Experiential Learning and Career Education, some people just call us the co-op office, but we house the co-op program for engineering, DAT, School of IT and Communication. We have the academic internship program here at the University of Cincinnati. We house the service learning, UC Ford, and an undergraduate research program for all students at the University of Cincinnati.
And Willie, to add to that, you all received a pretty high ranking recently.
Yes, we did, and my boss would be remiss if I didn't say something about that. We are the #1 public institution. We're ranked #3 in the country, but when it comes to public institutions, we have the #1 co-op program in the nation. Beat that Ohio State.
Yeah, which is wonderful. I think that proves there's a lot of opportunities for students when they come to UC.
So one of the questions we get a lot is what is co-op? Because as you saw from the previous slide, experiential learning comes in many different forms. And so when we're talking about co-op, we're talking about something very specific. Co-op by definition is something that is work integrated learning that is directly related to your major, that is paid, that is semester long, that is supervised, and your performance is assessed. Those are the 5 cornerstones of co-op. And if it doesn't meet all 5 of those things, by definition, it is not a co-op. So co-op is something very, and cooperative education is something very specific, but it's just one form of experiential learning. And it's not the best form, it's not the right form. It's just a way that started here at the University of Cincinnati in 1906. We created co-op. We have a legacy of co-op, and we have a lot of majors and 2 colleges that have mandatory co-op. But every program at the University of Cincinnati has some form of experiential learning. So we were talking about who has mandatory co-op. And so that's all majors within the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences. So everything from aerospace down to mechanical engineering technology. In our wonderful School of Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning. So architecture majors, fine art, urban planning, those are mandatory co-op. In the College of Education, Criminal Justice, and Human Services, or CHEC, the School of IT, that is a mandatory co-op program. And then there are graduate schools and graduate programs that have mandatory co-op. So that's the Master of Architecture in that, and the Master of Science in Information Systems in Leonard College of Business. The College of Arts and Sciences, or A&S, Communication has mandatory experiential learning, and they do have an optional co-op program. So if you're a communication major, you don't have to do co-op, but you have to do some form of experiential learning. And then lastly, in the College of Business, experiential learning is mandatory, but co-op is mandatory. So if you're in the College of Business, you do have to have some form of internship or co-op, but it's not a mandatory co-op program.
Thank you for giving us this list of all the programs that partner with the co-op option. You know, for people that are not in one of these majors or possibly in a different college, can they still have the option to co-op. And I ask because there's some people attending this webinar who don't fall within this list. They may want to come to UC and have that opportunity to co-op, but are not in engineering or DEP or another program on this list.
And so, yes. And so along as your experiential learning opportunity is full-time, it's paid, that you are being supervised at that job. So no one is giving you a desk and walking away and giving you any type of guidance or instruction or mentorship, and that your work performance is assessed. That's a co-op. And so even though you may be participating in an undergraduate research, or you may be participating in what someone would call an internship, that's still co-op. And so I know sometimes the terminology may be a little confusing, and some people call everything co-op, and in industry, they use the word co-op and internship interchangeably. What we're really talking about here, and that's why we opened up with the slide experiential learning. At the University of Cincinnati, everybody will have an opportunity for experiential learning. It's just, if you are, in nursing or allied health, it might be a clinical or a practicum. By academic definition, that's a little bit different. But because of that major, that is 100% appropriate form of experiential learning for you. Or you in A&S and your major is in physics or biology or chemistry, having a research opportunity is the appropriate form of experiential learning for you. And so it may not reach that very academic and rigid co-op definition, but it's the correct of experiential learning for you. And the same thing in business. In business, they call their co-op, I forget what they call it. They don't call it co-op, but it really is co-op because it meets the definition.
And that applies for college conservatory music.
Yes.
Students in the undergraduate program in the College of Medicine, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that further.
And so if you are in one of those majors that we talked about, College of Engineering and Applied Sciences, DAP, School of IT, communication majors, or some of those graduate programs, there is a certain schedule that you follow when it comes to when you are at the University of Cincinnati and taking academic courses. When you have a break, unfortunately, if you're in a mandatory co-op program, the only room in your academic schedule is the summer of your freshman year, where there is nothing scheduled for you depending on your major. And then after that is your every other term, you're either in school full-time or you're on co-op full-time, and until you graduate in 5 years. And so this matrix that you see right here is the co-op schedule. And this thing can be about 3 slides, but to condense it for practical purposes, you're basically the first year of school, even because of your actual the visa that you're coming in, you have to be in school full time before you can even apply for CPT and OPT. But school for a year, and then starting your second year is when you alternate terms of school and also terms of co-op. And then if you are in one of those non-co-op majors, you have way more flexibility. It's business, for example, that students only do internship co-ops in their summertime. That's common, but it's not mandated, it's not suggested, but it's a common practice. A lot of schools have part-time internships that you will do throughout. So this co-op schedule are only for those people in
I think I'm going to try to mute who's talking. I think what's important to note is that students are only paying tuition when they're taking classes. So essentially that first year, fall and spring semester, you're paying tuition. And then where you see the gray blocks for second year, fall, and throughout the remaining time, that's when students are paying that tuition. When you're on
Yes.
co-op, you're not paying that. So you're essentially
No.
paying for 4 years of tuition and then having that work experience.
Correct. At the University of Cincinnati, when I was at UC as an undergrad, I was an education major, so we had to pay for 12 credit hours when we were doing our student teaching. And so what is you will be enrolled in a full-time 0 credit course that will retain your full-time status at the University of Cincinnati. And for that full-time 0 credit hour course, the fee is $465. And so you'll still be enrolled as a full-time student, but you're paying full-time tuition at all. You're just paying for insurance, other fees, and the co-op fee.
Okay.
For tuition.
So I pulled up the co-op sample schedule.
Yes. This may be one of my favorite slides because it doesn't matter whether you are from Ohio or you are from India. A lot of students come to the University of Cincinnati thinking they're going to start co-op right away in their fall of their freshman year. What do I need to do to co-op? Nothing. I'm going to say nothing. There is no formal process you follow your freshman year. So if you look at this schedule, when you get to the University of Cincinnati, there's going to be information overload, adjusting to your first year of college, your first year away from family, adjusting to a new culture on campus, a new culture in the United States. And so for your freshman year, your number one priority is to focus and maintaining the highest possible GPA. The next thing is integrating yourself on campus and starting to expand your professional network. And your professional network is going to be your peers. You all are the future leaders in industry, the future leaders in academia. And so expanding your network with your peers and also joining student organizations that are aligned with your interest, but also aligned with your major is your number one goal, your fall semester of your freshman year. As you transition into spring semester of your freshman year, if you are in a mandatory co-op program, you will be taking a course called Intro to Co-op, and we'll talk about that more here in a second. But that gateway, that's kind of step one, the official step one into the co-op process. Still, you have to maintain your GPA. And the reason why I'm going to keep reiterating that is at some point in the process, grades and GPA is going to matter. There are some opportunities that you're not going to be able to even look at or apply to if you don't have a certain GPA. So keeping that GPA as high as possible is going to help you in the job search process. Again, at this point, you should not just be joining student organizations, but you should try to transition in some type of leadership role, whether it's a committee or whether it is on the board of that student organization. That's what you should be doing. And again, always expanding your personal and your professional network. And so anytime there's employers on campus, and there's always employers on campus, and they have any type of meet and greet, you're going and you're collecting business cards. You're having conversations with your professors, especially if you are a non-co-op major. If you're in the College of A&S and you're looking for a research opportunity, getting to know the professors at the University of Cincinnati, whether it's East Campus or West Campus, is going to be a high priority for you because you're working to a research opportunity. And you are allowed under your visa to have a part-time campus job. And for some students, whether you are a U.S. citizen or an international student, this may be the first real work experience that you can have. And all of that matters when it comes to transitional professional skill sets. So if you can get an on-campus job, please do so. If you cannot, that's okay. You can always volunteer. There's over 7,000 nonprofit organizations in the city of Cincinnati. And so volunteer your time and your services and your intellect to these nonprofit organizations in order to uplift their cause and to increase your competitiveness when it comes to the job search process. And last but certainly not least, depending on your major, specifically if you are in the School of IT, some of you may be entering the search process in spring, but that's 5% of all students at the University of Cincinnati will not be entering the job search process their freshman year. Only a small percentage of the IT students will be doing that. And that's based on your school and also the co-op faculty in charge of IT. Summer, many students return home for summer. You can co-op outside the United States that summer. You can study abroad, outside the United States for that summer, and that would give you a competitive edge when you return to fall, depending on your major, whether you're in engineering. Some of you may be starting the job search process that summer for a fall co-op, and you'll be doing that remotely if you're not in the United States. And really when the rubber hit the road as far as first official steps or second official steps in getting that co-op jobs is fall of your sophomore year. That is when more than 60% of you are going to be officially interacting with employers and entering the job search process so you can obtain a co-op your spring semester, and some of you will be already out on co-op the fall semester. So that's what the process looked like of what you should be doing when it comes to obtaining a co-op.
Thank you, Willie. So for this Intro to Co-op course, I'd love for you to share about that course and how it's taught, and then we'll bring in our students to share about what they learned from that course and how it impacted their first co-op and their second co-op and then their third co-op.
So there's multiple professional development courses across the university. A&S have PD classes, the College of Business have PD classes, and PD classes is a professional development course. Intro to Co-op is the Division of Experience-Based Learning and Career Education, one of our PD courses. And so this is going to help you to develop your skill sets, and any PD course is going to help you develop your skill set in order to successfully enter and navigate the job search process and experiential learning. Specifically for Intro to Co-op, of course, we're going to talk to you about the history of co-op, but then we're really going to, the first half of that class is resume development. And if you're a DAT major, it's going to be a thing called a portfolio that's really going to be get into a little bit in Intro to Co-op, but a lot when you start meeting with your co-op advisor. So resume development, interview skills, networking skills, career explorations, because you're going to be asked the question, for example, why do you want to work at this company? And you need to have a comprehensive explanation, not just I need a co-op, and so you gave me an interview. You need to be able to talk about how this job is going to connect to your future career as far as what you want to do in that industry and what you want to do in your professional pathway. We're talking about personal branding, and also last but certainly not least, how to be successful on co-op. We have some doozy stories about people who are not successful on co-op and what you should do to mitigate that risk and be successful while you're there, and also talk about the expectation, logistics, and advising of the co-op program. And if you transfer these learning outcomes to what is happening to different professional development courses across campus, this is pretty much the framework, but this Intro to Co-op is specific to the official mandated co-op program at the University of Cincinnati.
So I should say that this course is offered the second semester of their first year.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
Correct.
And so students, you can all expect to take this course as part of your curriculum for your second semester, your first year, to prepare you for your co-ops that you will take your second year onward. So Hajar. Hi. Can you share your experience taking this Intro to Co-op course in DAP?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So the Intro to Co-op was very enlightening to me because going into co-op, like you hear about co-op, you like, you know, you're going to go into this experience, and UC does like its best to prepare you to enter the workforce in the most professional way. Most of the students that come in are freshmen. They mostly had like, you know, one job, if not experience. So they try to help you emphasize some of the stuff that are important to show on your resume so that you can land your first co-op successfully. It's really like a course to just help you understand, like, you know, how to carry yourself professionally and like go through successfully an interview, you know, how to talk to employers, how to convince them, how to get them to like buy that you are a very competent worker and that you'll be a great addition to their team. So it's really just a course to help you build that professional charisma while you're going into the co-op search. What I learned from it is honestly, like I said, interviewing skills, like resume, how to build a resume successfully. And it was really helpful because when it comes time to like look for that co-op and I start talking in interviews, I went in with a very big confidence because I've already practiced this in my intro to co-op. So it's a really helpful course that will definitely like help you build, like I said, your resume so that you can go like very well prepared and you can land yourself like definitely a great job.
Thank you, Hajar.
Of course.
Ravina, could you share your experience taking the Intro to Co-op course through the Linder College of Business? I think she's having some Wi-Fi problems. So Quinn, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Could you share your experience taking the co-op course? Oh, you're there.
No problem.
No, sorry, Ravina. Yeah.
Could you repeat your question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I would love for you to share your experience taking this Intro to Co-op course.
Honestly, I loved it. I developed so many skills regarding resume. And like my resume was pretty bad in the beginning. Like I thought it was good, but it was actually really bad. And once I edited my resume with the formatting, the way the words that are needed in the resume, even like on my LinkedIn profile, everything, like even my career coach helped me a lot. And I was able to get like an internship in Singapore with Tetra Pak. And Tetra Pak is a multinational company. And I was able to also get an on-campus co-op with the HR department at UC, and I absolutely loved both of them.
Thank you, Ravina. Quinn, being an engineering student, can you share your experience, please?
Yeah, sure. So for the Intro to Co-op class for engineering students, I mean, it's kind of the same to what Hajar already said. We were basically work on our resume, on our LinkedIn profile, on our interview skills and whatnot. And then the one thing that I really like from that co-op class is that we had to do an assessment to get to know ourselves. Because sometimes when you walk into a career fair, when you talk to some employees, some employers, you don't really know what are you really good at. And having that assessment really it really gave me more confidence because I know that I'm good at something and I have something to offer the company. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody that first enthusiastic, second, they have something to offer. They can contribute something to the company. So that's what I learned from it. And another thing is that when you go to career fair or when you're looking for a job, it's not just you looking for a job, it's the company looking for interns. So that's a two-way relationship. So you have to have some standard for yourself and you have to have some values that you can offer the company. So that's another thing that I learned from that co-op class, and I think that's very helpful.
Thank you, Quinn. Appreciate it.
I have it just like a quick addition. I'm sorry, I forgot to add, like for specifically for like design students or like students that are in DAP, you do like get a chance to work on your portfolio as well, because that's when you get to like showcase your like your work that you've previously done in the first year. So there's definitely like a help with that. So like I forgot to mention that, but yeah, for design students, you definitely get a chance to work on your portfolio as well.
I have something else to add too. So before the career fairs, the Lindner College of Business, they have loads of events where companies like EY, Deloitte, and all the big companies, they come to the Lindner College of Business and they have a look at your resume. They give you advice on different things too. And that's really, really helpful because, you know, they're the, like EY and Deloitte, they're the big four. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Ravina. All right, so we're gonna jump into talking about CPT versus OPT with Lily.
I want to preference that when it comes to visa questions, we have a department, and it's called UC International Services. The director of which is Rod Cushing, and his staff are phenomenal when it comes to explaining and working with students on visa-related questions. The point and overview of this CPT and OPT is just to give you a just general overview of how that works in regards to co-op. And so when you enter the United States on the F1 status, and many students will, some students J1, and there's a litany of other visa status. We're going to kind of focus on F1, J1 students. You will be able to co-op curricular practical training or optional practical training, CPT and OPT. In order for you to obtain this, you have to be in school for one academic year before you can apply for CPT or OPT. And there's a process for that. So as you can see from one of the prior slides, when talking about that co-op schedule, you're not even, regardless of your nationality, no one co-ops after before the third semester. So that would give you a whole year here at the University of Cincinnati. So that's taken care of. So really you are applying, and there's a mechanism for that through iberclassglobal.uc.edu, where once you receive a co-op offer, then you submit some information in IBERCAT Global, and then the process starts, and that's approved by your co-op or your career service advisor, or your academic advisor, depending on your major. If you're a co-op major, it will be a co-op advisor. And once that is submitted, it's processed, and you will receive your authorization to work. And that's the piece of paper that you take with you, and also your social security number at that point, to get paid and to work legally in the United States on co-op. So the big thing with international students are setting your expectations and understanding the barriers, opportunities in regards to your status. And so when it comes to co-op, there are some companies, for example, General Electric here, that's based here in Cincinnati, Ohio. They have the Department of Defense in their basement. And so government contracts, Siemens, there's some locations for Siemens, for example, that have government contracts. So any company that have government contracts, they just can't hire by law international students. Another barrier for international students is just misinformation. CPT and OPT does not mean a company need to sponsor you in any way, shape, or form. Some companies believe that, a CPT is not an H-1B. You do not need to sponsor an undergraduate international student on an F1 visa in order for them to work for you on a co-op. So some of it is misinformation. And another thing is misconception of the talent acquisition. Folks in my generation or older, companies really use co-op as a pipeline of permanent talent. So a lot of times the company that you work for when you were 20 years old as a co-op is the company that you retired from. That is not the case in 2020. That is not the case for generations younger than me. The average millennial and younger works for a company for 3 to 5 years. And so there's this misconception that the talent pipeline that co-op used to represent still represent that. And so companies can get the same amount of work, the same amount of investment with an international student that they can with a U.S. citizen, because working for the companies is still going to be 3 to 5 years. So that dynamic has changed. And also a missed opportunity. One of the things that do at the University of Cincinnati is I run the International Experience Program. So we have an internship program in 9 different countries. And one of the things I always ask companies abroad, why do they want UC students, is understand how to expand their global brand and bring in diverse skill set and perspective to their products and to their client. So they get this. And so some US companies kind of miss this opportunity to expand their brand, diversify thought and skills and perspectives when it comes to what they are doing. So those are some of the barriers that you see. But some of the opportunities for international students are the vast majority of all Americans only speak one language, and we don't really speak English all that well sometimes, depending on who you speak with. Students are, you all speak multiple languages. And so you all can be a more of a global citizen, especially as we move towards a global economy. So working outside the United States, you already are outside of your home country. And so participating in working at home, your home country, or working abroad would better prepare you to be a leader in the global workplace and the global economy. You can take advantage of our international co-op program, our international experience program, working abroad independently, which is a worldwide co-op, and working at home and working abroad to expand your professional network, both here in the United States through traditional co-op and abroad and at home. So you can have a professional network that is truly global. So that's some of the opportunities for you. And you can take advantage of this by trying to maximize your CPT. You only have 365 days or 12 months of CPT. The moment you go over this, you're going to exhaust your OPT. And if you look at how co-op is, well, specific co-op is designed, you're going to exhaust your CPT and OPT before you graduate. And so if you want to maintain your optional practical training, it will behoove you to work 3 co-ops right here in the United States and work 2 abroad. So therefore, if a company wants to hire you, after college or as you transition to grad school, you have a year of OPT left. And then depending on your major, you might get a STEM extension. And so there's a way to expand your time here in the United States through co-op and maximizing your CPT and your OPT.
So just to reiterate, to repeat, you're recommending students do 3 co-ops here in the United States and then 2 co-ops abroad anywhere, essentially, so that they can maximize their OPT time.
That is a suggestion. And so for some students, they may land a job right here in the United States and there's a clear path to, sponsorship. So in no way, shape, or form, I, suggested that students would know this. It depends on your circumstance. I see a lot of success because I used to be the co-op major for finance and econ and computer engineering at some point, environmental engineering at one point, and chemical engineering at one point. I saw the most success from my students who work both at home and abroad, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get sponsorship after graduation. So those who maximize and expanded their professional network on a global scale were able to, at some point, sometimes re-enter the United States on the H-1B after graduation because they did well in co-op here, they went abroad, and they also went home. And so it's just a way for you to consider what is your best option when it comes to co-op. And some students, they have that dream. They come here, they get that sponsorship and everything is fine. but more students than not do not. And so you have to think about how are you going to maximize and get a return on your investment when it comes to co-op.
Right. And what's good to know is your office and other offices on campus are there to support students so that they can pursue opportunities here in the US and have a listing of opportunities internationally. So I think some students might worry they have to find the company. They have to do the research to find the company back in India or back in a country where they would like to work. But your office is there to support that. Am I right?
So you to know our office, we build relationships abroad. And so we have individual relationship with global companies. We have programmatic relationship with companies. For example, the ICP program and also the experience program. Those are programs that that support students 100% when it comes to finding those jobs abroad. And yes, we have a litany of relationships of companies all through the United States. But we also encourage, it doesn't matter who you are, all students to be ambitious and to go out and find a job. So for example, if I'm your co-op advisor and I go out and develop opportunities, I'm developing opportunities for everybody. When a student go out and network and show their leadership and show their ambitions and connect with companies, they're doing job development for their own self. So you're your best job developer because I'm developing a job not necessarily for the individual you. I'm developing jobs for all students at the University of Cincinnati. So we encourage all students to always network and develop opportunities. But yes, the machine of the University of Cincinnati do go out and force relationship both here in the United States and abroad. The other yes and no to your question, this would be a no. When it comes for students working in their home country, we give you guidance, but we don't help you develop opportunities there. So when you sit down with your co-op advisor or your career coach or career advisor, depending on your major, we are telling you, we're answering all your questions. We're giving you guidance. We will jump on the phone, Skype, WebEx, or whatever to talk to employers. We're giving you that support, but we don't develop those individual jobs for students who go back home. We just are support.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. So before we jump into the co-op industry leaders, I wanted to tap in with our students, have them talk about their experiences. Ruvina, checking to see if you're still with us through your Wi-Fi. All right, well, while you're connecting, let's check in with Quinn. Quinn, can you talk about your most recent co-op, where it was located, how you found the job, what experiences you had?
Okay, so I just finished my second co-op rotation with BP. I found the job from Career Fair. So I went to Career Fair. I went to BP's information section where they introducing their company, and I got to have a more personal conversation, like one-on-one conversation with one of the employers. And I went to Career Fair the next day, and then I applied online, and then they offered me an interview. And then like about a week later, they offered me a co-op. And last semester I had, so BP, there are 3 locations, and last semester I worked with BP Whiting, and I lived in Chicago. So I was with process safety, and I was working on 3 projects for my co-op. And then the first one, I updated a safety policy for the company. The second one is that I was doing an audit in terms of safety, operating, and design alarms for the refinery. So there are 50 units around the refinery, and there are like thousands of alarms. And some of them, sometimes the alarm went off, but it didn't go to the operator, and they don't see it, and they didn't know there were some excursions happened. So I was looking at that and determine why there's a gap like that. And then my third project is that OSHA have have some policies on where there should be an alarm, and there are some cases the alarm is not there, or sometimes the alarm is there but it's not on the system, or sometimes they remove an alarm but they forgot to remove it on the system. So there's some mismatches between the actual alarms and the ones on the system. So I was doing another audit on that. So that was my project. Yeah.
So what have you taken away from that experience? So now that you're back in Cincinnati, you're preparing to go back to classes for summer semester online. You know, what skills did you learn? What was your takeaway from that co-op? And how will it prepare you for your next co-op? And, you know, do you plan to work for BP forever?
Yeah, so BP already offered me a return co-op. So I'll be back with BP in the fall. And I don't know, I'm back in, yeah, thank you, in Chicago. So one of the takeaway from the co-op is that don't be too cautious. And it's okay to ask some like stupid question, because there's no stupid question. If you don't know something, just go ahead and ask. Just don't hide it. And there's no shame of doing that. And like the more you ask questions, the better you get at it. And yeah, just don't be too cautious, because at the beginning I was worried that I'm gonna ask something wrong, because there are a lot of things that I don't even know. Sometimes they were talking about knockout drum, and I understand knockout, I understand drum, but knockout drum, I have no idea what is that. So I wanted to ask, but I find it a little silly, because who doesn't understand knockout drum? I just don't know. But then later I just went out and asked. And yeah, it's something that I totally, like, it's totally new, and it's totally fine that you don't know something, and just go ahead and ask. Don't be too cautious, because when you wait until you get everything ready, the opportunity just went away. So just go ahead and ask.
Thank you, Quinn. I appreciate it. Hajar, can you talk about your most recent co-op?
Yeah, of
Can
course.
you talk about that briefly, and then talk about kind of your future co-op, how that's been changed and repositioned?
Yeah, of course. So I like want to say, like, address something that we were already like talking about, but like you are a very valuable person, like in terms of like assets that you have. You speaking another language is one of the most like precious things that you can find. It sets you apart from like your peers. So definitely you do stand out, like versus your other peers. So when you go in to look for co-ops, you're definitely going to be a great candidate, because you have something different to bring to the table, and that's really something wonderful. As for my co-op, I actually co-opted in a firm, an architecture firm called ARC Architects in Seattle. It was a great opportunity for me to kind of reach out, because ever since I came from like my home country to the US, I gotten used to Ohio, and I was like, oh no, like I was kind of really scared to move again. But it really does help you, like, change pace, and you just get to explore a different city in the US, and it's a really great opportunity to just, travel and see other things. But among those things that I learned in my co-op is that I just built some professional confidence. I was able to meet with clients. I was able to grow professionally. I was able to build connections. It was just all like great things that like of an outcome of a co-op that you get to experience before you even graduate, which is really, really valuable. So when I came back to the semester, I had like so much to offer, and for like my academic career as well, from what I learned for professionally, in terms of like learning new programs, learning new systems, just like using my design muscle. And I got to flex it when I came back, which was really great. So those are great outcomes that comes from co-op, and that you, as a student of the University of Cincinnati, get to do that other students don't necessarily get to do. And it's built in part of your curriculum. And I'm sorry, Nick, what was the other question?
Just what you're preparing. You have a co-op this summer, right?
Yes. So I like, because of I've seen like some of the questions about like how does the global pandemic affects our co-ops. So there was a little shift in like the co-op search due to the pandemic. There's a lot of freeze in a lot of companies, but we do like have alternatives that are right now, our career advisors have worked on really hardly to provide for us so that we get to experience the same level of like learning that we do from co-op. So some of my peers, like including myself too, co-ops got canceled. And so we like found ourselves having to find jobs that like will accept working remotely for such a short term, like or period over the summer. It was kind of like unreasonable for companies to like hire people who are like, you know, who don't necessarily have, not necessarily experience, but like don't know like how like the interior law, if you will, or like the what the system is. So they just opted for like not hiring sometimes, but there are companies that are still hiring. There are companies that are still looking for talent, and we're still looking for co-ops. But there are like alternatives, like I said, like we are doing competitions that you can also earn money out of. And you can add to your portfolio, and you get the same amount of work we're doing. Like there are research positions that right now like students are applying for with faculty, where you get to experience the same level of learning that you would get in a co-op, where you are supervised, you're feeling like same as co-op, it's the same outcome pretty much. And there are, like I said, also companies that are still hiring, and they're willing to pay students and everything. It's just a little bit like more competitive due to the pandemic.
Thank you very much. And you bring up a good point that Willie can talk about in just a moment. We are, you know, close to the end time here. I'm curious to know and hoping everyone's able to stay on a little longer past the 10 a.m. Willie, are you able to stay on a little longer? Because the conversation's really good, and I don't want to wrap this up too fast. For all of you students attending in the chat box, is it okay if that we keep talking past the 10 a.m. stop? Okay, great. Thank you so much. So thank you, Hajar, for that. Willie, we'll jump into that topic just in a moment, and I want to hear from Ravina if she's available. But I guess Willie.
Yes.
Oh, Ravina, you're there. Awesome. Are you able to talk about your first co-op?
Yes. So my internship was in Singapore with Tetra Pak. I was actually quite sad that I wasn't in Cincinnati, because I wanted to be in Cincinnati with my friends and everything. But going to Singapore made me learn a lot about culture in the workplace, working with different people. And it was an HR related role. And I learned a lot. Like I was liaising with people in India, in China, Japan, Vietnam, Malaysia, Oceania, Indonesia, Thailand, and Philippines. So I got like a lot of experience, because my position was actually a position in the company before with 8 people, but they just hire 1 intern now, and all the 8 countries' workload was on me, and I felt like I learned a lot. And it wasn't just in the workplace that I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, how detail oriented I can be, how I like things organized, where I didn't know that I like things so organized. I also learned about the learning management system, like the SAP success factors. I learned how to onboard employees, and overall, it was a very good experience. And I was really glad that I got that experience.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, Willie, I'm not sure if this is at what point we should talk about it. So if you want to talk about industry leaders, we can talk here first. But at some point, talk about how UC's had to shift a bit with our co-ops and our placements due to the pandemic. I think there have been a lot of questions before this webinar, and of course during this webinar, about how UC is managing our co-op program during the pandemic.
Yeah, I can speak on that before we go into.
Okay.
It's COVID-19 has dramatically changed everything around the world, period. And so different states here in the United States have various levels of stay-at-home orders and things of that nature. And so the University of Cincinnati made the decision for the summer that no student will be registered with the University of Cincinnati in a face-to-face co-op. We made that decision for one reason and one reason only: student safety. We don't want a student to feel that they have to go and jeopardize their health in order to, obtain a co-op so they can graduate. And also, we don't want to put students in harm's way. And so the University of Cincinnati canceled or suspended, or canceled or suspended. They transitioned in the spring from face-to-face courses to online. And this summer, all classes will be online. And in the fall, we are still determining, based off of projected models, how fall classes are going to be. So that's the academic side. On the co-op side, we can start from international and go to domestic. We brought all of our students home in the spring semester. Some students decided to stay and they signed waivers to stay, and we recommended that those students return home because we did not know where they were working at, how that they were going to be affected, or if and when they can come home. So it was highly recommended that they do come home and return, but if they wanted to stay, they can sign a waiver, and the vast majority of students came home that was working abroad. Now, when it came to domestic co-op, spring semester, no one was told to stop. We did have students working in places that had a variety of different issues, some health, some not, that wanted to stop working because of COVID-19, whether they were in a hot spot like in California or New York. We had a couple students that were in Washington at the time that thought it would be in their best interest to come home or go home, whether home was here in Ohio or not. And we allowed that to happen, and they received full credit. And then when it comes to make a decision what we're going to do for summer co-ops, it was that we made that decision in the best interest in the health, safety, and security of our students, not to have them do face-to-face co-op. And so what has happened is students, and that decision didn't come lightly, but 70%, at the time that we made that decision, about 70% of students who had a co-op offer had that offer rescinded because we're shutting down. There were shelter in place or stay at home orders by different government entities. And we're not even talking about the economic hit that companies had. They just couldn't afford co-ops. And so as those things were being rescinded, we made the decision, for students not to have face-to-face, but you can find a remote co-op, you can move forward with that. And so in addition to that, we want students to continue their professional growth with experiential learning. And so our office has, and maybe I can copy and paste it and put it in the comments, has created a litany of EEPs. In a second here, I'll find it and copy and paste the link so you all can see it in the comment section. An EEP is an alternative placement, whether that is digital upskilling, project remote, or virtual or remote co-op. We are being flexible of what we will consider a co-op, so students can still obtain the credit that they need, especially in majors that are mandatory, because you have to do it in order for you to graduate. So we have worked really hard in order to provide opportunities for students so they can move forward with co-op. So that's what we have been doing so far, and that's some of the things that the students have been speaking about on this webinar as far as alternative placements.
Nick, I can also talk about specifically my experience since this summer I was supposed to do a co-op. So we're supposed to do my last co-op over the summer, and due to the pandemic, my co-op got canceled, which was really devastating at first. But then, Mr. Clarker has said, our career coaches have worked really hard to provide so many opportunities, alternatives that we can enroll in that can ensure the same amount of learning, if not more. So I'm entering along with a lot of my group, my classmates in like competitions, design competitions that will allow us to, like I said, have an outcome that is like similar to what you would have learned in a co-op, but you still get something out of like this experience. Like this is, I think, the best way to handle it. Like UC have really handled it really well. We were kind of all worried, but they provided answers for us in a very quick manner, in a very professional manner, and they are really looking out for the best for us. And I didn't even feel safe to go into a co-op knowing that I might, like, my safety was in the line. So I definitely like have UC to thank for like definitely like stepping in really quickly, and my career advisors for that as well.
Thank you for the additional information, Hajar. So concerning industry leaders and employers, why don't we jump into this content?
Okay. So we have a lot of industry leaders and employer partners at the University of Cincinnati, Fortune 500 companies, global companies, nonprofit organizations. And so these are just a list of companies that we have students at. But I also, when I talk to international students, I tell them, hey, this list is very enticing, but sometimes it can be misleading for two reasons. Misleading, number one, you have to ask yourself, will they hire international students, or do they hire international students? And then number two, most students that come to the University of Cincinnati are not going to work for one of these companies as their first co-op. So that you have to kind of manage your expectations in your skill sets. At some point, you can work for the Dells, the Googles, the Pfizers, as you build up your professional skill set and your technical skill set. So co-op number 4 and 5, or 3, 4, and 5, yes. But your first couple co-ops are going to be probably with companies you never heard of. They're going to be small companies. And I particularly love those companies because it's a cog in the wheel. There's less pressure on you. They're more inviting atmosphere working with a smaller company that you get to know everybody around you in maybe a very intimate way. And you might get a better experience at a smaller company rather than trying to shoot for the stars at a larger company. So this is a step in the process, not the end game in the process. So some of this is just boasting. Hey, University of Cincinnati do a great job in preparing our students, and our students and the work that we do behind the scenes and the work our students do on in the field has expanded our brand. And we are proud to promote, these industry leaders. But there's a lot of work in order for the university and our students to get there. So that's why I want to, kind of caution that yes, but manage expectations as you start, and also always ask the question, do or can they hire international students? For example, again, GE is on this list. Now, there are some locations at general election that hire international students, but you're not working here in Cincinnati at GE because they have government contracts. Now, in Louisville or South Carolina, where they make washing machines and dryers and they hire electrical engineers for circuit boards, things of that nature, can you work there? Yes, but that's an example. Hasbro is on here. Hasbro, before even COVID-19, laid off a lot of students as far as industrial design because of economic circumstance. They got really hit hard when Toys R Us went bankrupt. So always ask your questions. A, can I manage expectations, and what is my path to this job? And two, do they hire international students? And lastly, if you want to work in the United States, do they sponsor international students? So keep that in mind when you look at international and industry leaders.
I do want to ask Quinn to speak about her first co-op because you talked about being realistic about where your first co-op can be, and it's typically a smaller company. Quinn worked for BP Oil for her second co-op, which is a huge international company, and she had an amazing experience. For her first co-op, it was very different.
Yeah.
Can you briefly share for about a minute your experience here at your first co-op, where it was and what type of company, and what you learned there at this small company?
So my first co-op was with Dye Stark in Davis. You probably never heard of the name of the company, but that's a pigment or an ink, printer inks company. It's in Norwood, Ohio, and it's a very little plant. So I know everyone there compared to BP. So BP, there's just so many people there, and I just hardly know anybody. But I know everyone at DyeStar, and we had lunch together, and sometimes we made lunch for each other too. And it was very homey. It was very warm and welcome. I liked the people there a lot. And what I've learned is that so I was with R&D or research and development department. So I was in the lab all the time. And so most of the time I just applied what I learned to do my project compared to at MEP. I learned new skills, new knowledge, new tools to finish my project. So that's the difference. And so for, I don't know. So for the first co-op, even though I didn't learn a lot of technical skills, but I developed a lot in terms of communication skill, time management skill. And it was the first time that I had to lead a meeting. And it was the first time that I have that big of the responsibility to do something. And it caused me, it was very hard at the beginning, but after a few times you lead a meeting or you have to have that big of the responsibility, you kind of get a hang of it and you become more confident about yourself. And I walked into a career fair for the second time. I was so much more confident because I know that I can be trained. And it's not that I'm not good enough. I can be trained and I just don't know everything about the industry yet. So that's what I learned from my first co-op experience.
Hey, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. So, Willie, we're going to move to arts and sciences here. Is Ladrika, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right, so due to timing, I'm going to have you share about experiences students that are students from the Arts and Sciences College.
Absolutely. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the students, Nick. Hi, students. Again, I'm Ladrika Kari from the College of Arts and Sciences. And all of the information that you heard today was really great. And I'm going to discuss a little bit of how it complements the experiences that you can take advantage of within the College of Arts and Sciences. So oftentimes for students in our college, we are the largest college at UC. We have over 40 majors. So we want to produce processes that can support our students, irregardless of what your major or consideration is. Some of the other programs like DAP and engineering will have roughly anywhere from like 10 to 13 majors. So to support our students and the vast way of study for students, we like to focus in on experiential learning opportunities. And so definitely co-op and internships is a part of that opportunity for students. And many of our students will be able to take advantage of those options. It's very similar to what Mr. Clark spoke about. Students will take a professional development course. Based on that professional development course, students will look at opportunities through the website RecruiterCat and build their resume and cover letter, have that experience and exposure from faculty through our Career Services Center. Depending on students' interest area, your advisors will work with you to identify which pathway will be the most conducive to getting the experience that you're interested in. So for students within our college, you can consider a research opportunity, which we will see a lot of our STEM-based students may consider. And also thinking about opportunities for research, our location in Cincinnati will work really favorable for those students because our campus is surrounded by 6 different hospitals. It's a short walk to the Cincinnati Zoo. And so if you're thinking about opportunities, they're right for you within your community, within walking distance. So research is really popular. Many of our students will also take advantage of study abroad opportunities. So the opportunity to immerse yourself in a new culture and experiences, and then bring that dialogue back to us within the College of Arts and Sciences is really advantageous for our students. So when you think about experiences through the College of Arts and Sciences, you have many to pick from. Research, study abroad, internships, and co-op opportunities is what our students are able to take advantage of. Throughout the chat, throughout the chat, just one second, Nick. Throughout the chat, I've seen a lot of questions as it relates to students looking at resources or co-op opportunities through biological sciences, and that's pretty much been the theme within the sciences. And so as a student studying within our sciences area, whether it's biology, chemistry, neuroscience, physics, you have a wide range of experiences, again, as I mentioned, that you of. Definitely internships will be a great option for students to consider. Maybe looking for a career after your undergraduate program, about maybe faculty that will serve as a letter of recommendation for them as they look at that graduate level program. And so is an opportunity for you to do an internship within biological sciences available? Absolutely. Looking at my pathway, only option that I could take advantage of. So again, you will look at a research opportunity, you can look at an internship opportunity. And so your advisor will work with you on your plan. We're focusing on your experiences outside the classroom.
So, and you answered my first question, so thank you. Concerning internships, can you explain how that is different than a co-op?
The big difference for us as you think about a co-op versus an internship, the underlying factor of an internship or co-op is the same. We want to provide our students with an experience that can be documented on their resume and get them exposure and experience to a professional setting. And so it allows our students to kind of test drive a career. What we've seen oftentimes from our students that will participate in an internship or co-op, they will identify a path to go into. Once they get into that professional setting, you'll have about 15 to 16 weeks dedicated to that experience. And so you can kind of figure out if this is going to be a good place for me to consider. And so oftentimes students can think about an internship or a co-op within that factor. And so with a co-op, you know, you have this pathway that we've outlined earlier in the presentation, where you will have to finalize how that works for you, what's going to happen your first year, second year, and so forth, and those how you will identify that. An internship works similar. So during the first year, you're going to take that professional development course, and you will look for opportunities starting that summer before your sophomore year. The big difference is an internship is a bit more flexible. So you can identify every summer as an opportunity to do your internship, or you could take classes and do your internship all in the same term. So in lieu of getting paid, you can look at that for academic credit, and it will be a class that you will register for, and you will get a grade for that class. And so for students that are really committed to coming to college, graduating within 4 years, the internship may be the best option for you. As far as getting paid, internships are flexible. Again, I talked about the academic credit. Some internships you can take on as unpaid, and some are paid. Within our office, we offer very different opportunities. Like for many of our journalism communication majors, they may focus in on the experience being more important, and so they may focus in on an internship that's unpaid. For my students that are interested in testing out higher education, that are organizational leadership majors, they are getting paid for that experience. So when you're looking at your search for internship opportunities, you'll figure out which one is going to be the best option for you.
Thank you, Ledrika. And one last question. Can you talk a bit about opportunities to do research and how those opportunities are created for the students and how they, connect with the right people on campus or out in the Cincinnati community to complete that research.
Absolutely. So once students enroll in the College of Arts and Sciences, you will be paired with a minimum of 2 academic advisors. So you'll have an advisor that's going to work with you on your core requirements, and you'll have a faculty advisor for your particular discipline that will advise you on what courses to take, what experiences to take advantage of, and also a faculty member within your department. And so each of our majors within the college will have a listserv. And so faculty will receive information about different research opportunities that students can take advantage of, and then connect those opportunities to students. So students will start receiving emails from your faculty on, this is an opportunity for you, this is the contact information, and we will leave it up to our students to make that connection for them. We offer research opportunities definitely within the University of Cincinnati, within the greater Cincinnati area, throughout the state, and also throughout the world. So we definitely will connect students to those resources. And so your connection with your faculty member will begin that process. And so once students start making a connection with their faculty member, you'll meet with your faculty advisor to discuss what are your interest areas, what type of experiences do you want to take advantage of. And so based on that relationship with your advisor, you'll start making that connection. Also, I learned that a lot of students will find different research opportunities on their own as well. And so you can look within the greater Cincinnati area and kind of have your faculty members there as a guide to say, would this be a good fit for me? I was looking at some experiences here. And so your relationship with your faculty member will become pivotal as you research those opportunities to take advantage of those experiential learning.
Are those research opportunities for college credit, and are they paid or unpaid?
So many of our research opportunities will have the option of students looking at, again, paid and unpaid opportunities. If you're working with one of our faculty members, you can look at that opportunity for research as college credit as well. And so your faculty member will work with you on the best path for you to make sure that you stay within status as a student at the university and as an international student, but also make sure that you are able to document your experiences through your resume. I know some of my College of Arts and Sciences students are able to present with faculty on research that they're participating in. And so it's a great way for students, depending on your interest area, that you can make the connection with faculty, which I know is really important for students.
Thank you, Ladrika. I appreciate it.
No problem.
And for all of you Arts and Sciences students, we will include her contact information in a follow-up email to this webinar. So Ladrika, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it so much. Let's see, Willie. All right. I'm gonna bring it on back to you here. Talk about employers and then the skills students will learn. You're still on mute here.
My apologies. So I want to give a disclaimer. When you see lists like this, these lists are not just exhaustive. These are just companies.
This isn't all the companies.
No.
Correct. Okay.
And also when it comes out, because I get this question all the time, my major is this and what companies can I work for? That's a very hard question to answer because employers come and they go. And so you may have an employer partner that, because of economics or where they're at or projects that needs to be done, may be an employer for a couple of years and they may disappear and come back. So one thing that you can do is do your own research in the industry that you want to go in to see what companies are out there. That's the best answer to your question. What companies can you co-op at? Any company that you find in the industry in which you want to go in. That's the best answer I can give you. Now, do we have a partner with that company? We may have a partnership. We may not. It may be an active partnership. It might be an inactive partnership. But that will give you the best sense of what companies that are out there in order for you to explore and move forward in the industry of your choice. So the companies that I listed on here are companies specifically, or examples of companies that specifically hired international students. So if you see these companies out there as you're doing your own research, or you see them pop up at career fairs, you know these are companies that have hired international students in your major. And this is not an exhaustive list. I only picked cause of engineering and IT and not DAP, and my apology for any DAP majors out here. I just wanted to give an example. There are plenty of companies that hire international students. And that's the point of putting this out here. And we have, international students in all majors. There's a lot in engineering, there's a lot in A&S, there's a lot in accounts of businesses. So I put this out here for a talking point that yes, there are a lot of companies out there to hire international students, and no one person can just email you a list and say, all right, these are your companies, even though we do have partners in our database that are active.
I can continue on.
Yeah. So anywhere the aim, to be honest with you, the University of Cincinnati is a huge employer. Many people look past UC. UC is one of the biggest employers of all people within the city of Cincinnati. And so it's not uncommon for students to work for the University of Cincinnati. But we have Fortune 500 companies, as you can see here on this slide, GE Appliances. That is different. That's a different division of GE than GE Aviation. They hire international students. L'Oreal, Duke Energy, Chase Industry. So there's a lot of companies out there that do hire international students. So don't be discouraged when you start this job search process, because it's discouraging for everybody, regardless of your nationality. Getting your first co-op is a little bit stressful because you're going against competition. Many of you, this is going to be your first professional experience. So don't let the mountain of co-op kind of discourage you. Do your research, do your due diligence, and just apply and apply and apply and work on your professional skill set. So when you do shake a person's hand, if we ever go back to shaking hands in the future, you'll be able to say, I can be an asset to your company and I want to work for you. Building career skills. So at some point, the discussion point here is you're going to enter. We're going to help you. We as an institution are going to help you very early on your freshman year start to build professional skill sets. We are going to, there is a variety of different support networks in order for you to obtain the appropriate experience and learning opportunity for you, whether it's co-op, whether it's research, whether it's internship, whether it's a practicum or clinical experience. And then at some point, you're going to leave us. And when you leave us, we believe that you're going to be in the best position possible to be a future leader in your industry. As a traditional co-op program, you're going to have almost 2 years of professional work experience. And if you're a non-co-op major or you're in a non-mandatory co-op major, you're still going to have, a lot of experiential learning and experience before when you graduate. You're good. And if you saw if you paid attention, and I know you did, the very first thing when you get to campus, we said network. And so as you leave us, you're going to have a personal network, an academic network, and a professional network. And so these are the things that you're going to need in order to take your first step from co-op world to your career world. And we do have resources, co-op advisor, career coaches. We have the career studio in TEC now that helps students transition from finding your next co-op to help you finding your next job. And so we have those career studios, co-op advisor, career coaches, and academic coaches, all of the mentors and networks that you built up along the way. So all of this is really a process. And if you pay attention to what we have been, the overall narrative, we're going to help step by step. And even as you transition from the University of Cincinnati as one of our well-prepared alumni, there's still supports in that process as well, regardless of your nationality.
Thank you, Willie. So for everyone, this does conclude our presentation about co-op and internships and all the opportunities the University of Cincinnati provides for you. I think Willie has shared an abundant amount of information for you through this webinar. We hope it's been informative. You know, if you have more questions, you are welcome to ask at this time within the chat box. We can address those. I think, you know, moving forward, you should know that we will continue to have a #1 ranked co-op and internship program nationally. Our staff are working around the clock to ensure that our students have opportunities to continue these co-op professional development semesters. You know, Willie, in closing, do you have any final advice for these international students preparing to come to the U.S. and start classes at UC?
I think advice, #1, first and foremost, I hope everyone is staying safe. This pandemic has affected, you know, all of us all around the world. So please continue to stay safe, and you're in my prayers about that. #2, co-op is going to take care of itself. As long as you do what you're supposed to do every step of the way and put yourself in a position, keeping your grades up, getting involved on campus in different organizations, constantly networking, you know, getting yourself in uncomfortable situations outside of your peers, and connect with other peers, doing well on co-op. Don't overlook the smaller companies, you know, don't overlook opportunities, and take advantage of every opportunity and learn and grow. When you look up, it may be a lot of angst going into the system, but the system is really here to help you. And as at the other end, you're going to look back at yourself like, I was worried for nothing, you know, because all you have to do is take your business and follow the directions. And at the end of all of this, you will be a Bearcat alum, and you will have a lot of professional experience, a lot of good times, a lot of great friends, and a great experience here at the University of Cincinnati.
Thank you, Willie. That's great advice. For Quinn, I'm going to ask Quinn and Hajar as well, of course. Quinn, what kind of advice would you give a student who's considering coming to UC and is excited about co-op, you know, how to best prepare for this experience?
Yeah, so first, get yourself some suit and tie, because, you know, you might need it for career fair. Second, GPA, it's not everything, but it's good to have good GPA because you're gonna stand out. But don't like kill yourself if you don't have good grade. And be involved. There's so many organizations out there that you can join, and that's a very good opportunity to network and make friends. Yeah.
Thank you, Quinn. And Hajar?
Okay, so this is like general advice I give for everyone. Just be your genuine self. Like let everything that like you come across give you a teaching moment, and just be vulnerable to learn new things. Like you're gonna make new friends on campus. You're gonna meet a lot of great people. You're gonna make great opportunities for yourself. Just carry yourself like in a great way. Just have a big smile and always be cheerful, and just honestly like enjoy your time when you see like there is like nothing more valuable than like your college experience that will prepare you for real life. And it's really just about like meeting great people and making those great connections, and you'll be awesome.
Thank you. Well, that wraps it up, everyone. Thank you for attending today. If you have questions, please email us. I will include contact information in a follow-up message you'll receive after this webinar. So be safe, take care, and we'll see you at our next webinar. Thanks, Willie. Thanks, Hajar. Thanks, Quinn. Thanks, everyone who attended.